Hey. So this morning I'm going to talk about what's your story. If you're on Facebook, I don't think you could have missed that I was doing that. I really wanted to get that out because I think it's so important. And I also, it's dovetailing on that talk that I gave on what the bleep are we saying, for which I probably owe $5. I might give it to the carpet fund out there. So what do I mean by story? Well, it's what we tell ourselves, and it's what we tell others. Stories like, when you think about it, what you're telling, and you ask yourself, how do we feel? Why do we like happy ending stories? Because they feel good. And why do we like mysteries where the culprit gets nabbed and the crime is solved? Because that feels good. It feels like all is now right with the world. Here we go. Okay, there we go. That's so. There's my story. One more. There he is. Some of you may remember seeing, and some of you may remember reruns of Dragnet. This is Detective Joe Friday, who only wants the facts. Thank you very much, ma'am. The facts of her story, the facts of his story, are histories and herstories. The facts from our personal history or herstory, like we're used to giving these: date of birth, place of birth, father's name, mother's name, zip code, things like that. They are just the facts. And these are not usually highly charged and emotional facts either. We've been dishing these facts out our whole lives, right? But what about the other so-called facts? So think about this. What do we say when someone asks, tell me about yourself? We might tell them where we were born, our story of growing up, our family, school life, love story or stories, work stories, big things that happened in our life story, health story, financial story, the stories running through our minds, current woes and worries, or current bragging rights. What's the big deal about stories and storytelling? Why would your minister want to bring this to your attention? Why might we care? Because New Thought folks, like us, understand the metaphysics, the power of the law of radiation and attraction, and of our thoughts, words, and actions. Remember, everything you put out into the universe comes back to you. These tiny particles of the physical world, when broken down, this stuff, this is the energy of thoughts, words, and actions. It is magnetic, and our thoughts, words, and actions radiate and attract. Thank you. Some of our, sometimes stories can keep us stuck. Do you have stories that have a hold on you? We tell the same stories over and over, don't we? Are we telling repetitive tales of woe, like, I never understood blankety blank story, 2 steps forward, 1 step back story, ever since I broke my fill in the blank story, the IRS blankety blank story, my finances and my ex did this to me story, I'm so overwhelmed all the time story. So health stories are biggies. I remind us to honor the body, but not claim health issues like an anchor around the neck, with the exception, of course, of those medical alert tags that some of us might wear. So here's an example: my allergies, my fill in the blank. Now, I am currently lactose intolerant, and this is no kidding. People who know me know that. And but I don't wear it around like an anchor around my neck. I don't wear the T-shirt. Instead, I seek solutions and alternatives like coconut milk and coconut ice cream maybe. Now, thank you. I'd like to remind you, you might remember this, when Daniel McNeil spoke on his part 1 of his talk on the 12 powers, and how he taught meditation to the kids at the Muscular Dystrophy Association. He said he guided them not to identify the disease as my ND. Now this goes back to the denying of a situation as having power over us. Part of the unity, deny and affirm prayer process. He didn't tell them to say they didn't have it. He guided them to deny its power over them. So that's the story they can tell now. What's in a story? Well, here's one of my stories I want to tell. I used to call it my accident story. Now I call it an accident story. Actually, a balloon accident story. Okay? So you remember me telling you that Ken worked in Albuquerque during the week, and he flew home every weekend to Tucson, where our house was. And one weekend, we decided that I would come up and we would go to the balloon fiesta. And we were so excited. We got there really early. Really early, I mean, it was still dark. We got really early in line, and we paid and signed our liabilities away, I mean. And then we went out on what's called the Dawn Patrol. So the Dawn Patrol is this business where the first string of balloons go out. It's still dark, and they're pumping these balloons out, and you can see the light of the fire putting the hot air into the balloons. It's beautiful. And then all of we all went up, and the sun was coming up. It was beautiful, beautiful. And in between that, the big charge of putting that air in the balloon, which actually was rather hot and annoying sometimes, the rest of it was very quiet. It was very, very quiet and beautiful. We took and we went down the Rio Grande and then up, and we saw all those other beautiful balloons, and it was just a gorgeous, gorgeous time. And at one point, the pilot says, hey, we have enough fuel to make another round. Does anybody want to do it? And everybody said, yes! And so we did. Except we didn't go the whole way because we ran out of fuel. But we didn't run out of wind. And so the wind smacked us into the top of a hill. You know those hills along the Rio Grande there in Albuquerque. It smacked us up against the hill. The wind pulled our balloon and us up over the hill and down the hill, down more of the hill, across a ravine, through a wash, and up part of another hill. The whole time, the pilot is saying, get down, crouch down into those baskets, grab onto those rope handles, and stay down. You know, so what does Ken Warner do? He gets up on top of the basket, which is now going like this, and riding it like a cowboy, telling us, hey, you know, so he could tell us there was a boulder coming, there was a barbed wire fence coming, there was cactus coming, you know, pull your hands back. You know, and you know, so he's like, you know, telling us everything all along the way. So he had quite a nice ride. And the rest of us, of course, were all in there, you know, and every time he said boulder or cactus, we were like tensing even more. So it was, if you can imagine the position, you know, you're kind of in a ball, crouch with your back like this, and just like this every time. And then we finally came to a stop. And we all got out except for one family, and the family couldn't get out. Because as we were getting out, the wind took the balloon a little further, and there was a young 12-year-old girl, and her parents were smashing her, and they were crying for help. So a bunch of us ran to the basket, and we jumped on the side to pull it, you know, with our feet up on the basket to hold us, and our hands to pull that basket back and up, so it was up, so that poor girl wasn't being smashed, which we finally, eventually did. But my after effects of that, I did walk away, and so did Kid, of course. He was like, I had a lower back injury, quite severe, so bad that I actually at times over that period and later years walked with a cane from time to time. And I had to use barbecue tongs to put my socks on because I couldn't reach down there, and other things which we won't go into. You know, I couldn't drive a stick anymore. We had to trade in our beautiful Blue Vortex Volkswagen Super Beetle, which we both loved. It had everything, you know, even a sunroof. Couldn't go on any more golf dates with Ken. I couldn't even look at hot air balloons, even on a calendar. Just the sight of a balloon, I recoiled. I was repulsed by it. The topic of balloons, balloon fiestas, forget about it. How did I transform this story? Well, I learned not to point to a thing and claim its source as the balloon accident. In other words, I learned to not blame everything, every twinge, every little thing that happened because of the balloon accident. Physical therapy, and I had chiropractic. I was going to this chiropractor here when I first moved here, a woman, and she's retired now. Her name was Karen Cook, and she had the goodness and blessing of her heart to suggest to me that I might be holding on to that balloon story, and I should let it go. Bless her heart. I was floored. Had I been holding on to that story? I had. And what did I have to do to let it go? Awareness was the key. Now I knew. No more playing and replaying the incident. You know how you do? Looking for the whys, the what ifs, what if I'd done this, how did that happen, what could I do different, and other things in an effort to feel less powerless, which only served to make me feel more or less powerless, or more powerless. So I had to wrench my focus. We talked about that when we were talking about how we change our words. I wrenched my focus away from this mental investigation. You know, I recoiled from the idea of being in denial, that I was inadvertently allowing this one event in my life to affect me and have such power in every aspect of my life. So I moved out of denial. Now, how did I let go of its highly energized emotional charge? I worked with prayer and affirmations. I worked with prayer and affirmations so much they invaded my dreams. I was vigilant with my thoughts, words, and actions. I didn't want to tell the story. Stop talking about it. Stop describing it. You know, bring it in, reel it in. So now, I have no desire to ride in a hot air balloon, I can tell you that. But now it's just a fact in my history, my herstory. Now I'm able to transform the story into an authentic way in order to inspire others. Is there an event or events which you have in your life have been inadvertently allowed to have power over you? I say rewrite your story. We can move from these repetitive tales of woe to how we change and wow. We may not rewrite history, the facts of history, but we can rewrite the emotions, the lessons, and the understandings of our histories. We can transmute the electrics, the energy, the emotional charge, transmute them. We can share the stories in us of how we want things to be, how we want things to be. As part of this creative process, we do this through our positive thoughts, words, and actions. Prayers and affirmations, let's remember those. We can share stories of healing, positive situations, dreams and goals for which we are currently striving for, rather than telling those old, worn-out stories we tell over and over again. So telling stories, these things I pointed out are not just about our stories, but also about those stories we tell of others. My brother Riley, I tell you, I could regale you with many, many stories of Riley and would have you laughing, writhing on the floor because it's so funny. But let's just say this. I can tell you things like he was the braver younger brother on the high dive. And he was the young boy selling snapping turtles on a country road in Missouri. Don't ask what they were going to do with them. And more, like how he bought that Mustang. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So we may ask ourselves, what stories need retelling? Is there a need to retell? Does this story need to be told? Some may be better left untold, the energy of the world better off without the negativity of that story or stories. It's not to deny that they happened, not to deny the facts, man. but to deny the power over us. You see the difference? Excellent. So we own the story that we desire, the one we want, and we tell that version. For example, yes, that happened, but this is what I focus on now. Yes, I grew up poor, but I use prosperity consciousness in my life today. You see the difference? Oh, there's those balloons again. You guys know who he is? Okay, I'm going to quote Mahatma Gandhi. Man often becomes what he believes himself to be. If I keep on saying to myself that I cannot do a certain thing, it is possible that I may end up by really becoming incapable of doing it. On the contrary, if I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have it at the beginning. He came a long way, didn't he? We can change our lives by telling our stories differently. We can change from I can't because of this thing that happened to me to yes I can, yes I can, yes we can. Feel the difference in the energy? Way different, right? Yes we can. I'd like to give you some suggested takeaways. And Jane, I'm sorry I don't have a number. Next time maybe. We take a look at our stories, not just our own, but all of those stories of others that we tell too. We turn emotionally charged events into mere facts. I have a slide. Thank you. We turn them into mere facts of our histories and histories. Just the facts, man. DOB, POB, Father's name. We honor the body, but we deny the power of fill in the blank over us. I should not be daunted by milk, cream cheese, or ice cream. I'm happy. We determine how we will make our stories transformative. We determine it. There's not going to be somebody come in and tell us what to do and how to do it. Can they now be healing stories? Can our stories now be healing stories? We share stories in fun and authentic ways so that we can inspire not just others, but also ourselves. Because let's face it, sometimes we ourselves need a little, shot in the arm. There we go. We let go of stories that bring us down and hold us back. I have another quote here from Abraham Hicks. It's not necessary for you to exacerbate your contrast with struggle in order to get it into a higher place. It is not necessary to suffer in order to give birth to desire. But when you have suffered and you have given birth to desire, so what? You've got a desire. Turn your attention to the desire. Think about where you're going, and never mind where you've been. Don't spend more time justifying any of that stuff. I'm going to repeat that. You've got a desire. Turn your attention to the desire. Think about where you're going. And never mind where you've been. Don't spend any more time justifying any of that stuff. And here's some more takeaways. We can rewrite our story. It can be different. We ask, how would I like it to be? Instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed, how would I like it to be? Well, I'd like to have myself organized so that I have this on my list and that on my list, and I allocate certain times, and I kind of know what I'm doing. So I'm not overwhelmed. We can change our story. How would I like it to be? We'd like it to be how we changed our story and our life. And wow, because we're in charge of that. Example of a new story. I admire the art of hot air balloons. And that's true. No charge. What's your story now? Tell a new story. What's the best that can happen? I'm quoting a very beautiful man. His name is Adolfo Quesada. If you want to look at this book or any of his other books that I might have, I'll be glad to share you, but you can find him on Amazon too. This is from Before the Night Comes. Walk into the unknown with love in your heart and the rest will fall into place. Thank you. Now let's prepare for meditation. We're going to the going to heal, let go, transmute, create. Taking a deep breath. Relax, recognize, release, and allow. Imagine the ocean waves lapping at your bare feet. Hear the waves. Hear the waves spraying in the air. Breathe in the divine healing breath. Here, where the massive ocean of the universe, of God, the divine healer and bringer of insight. Relax, recognize, and release. Feel the divine healing light up your legs. Let it move up your legs. Just send that healing light up your legs. Let the healing in the waves of God wash over you. Pause where you may to focus the healing, ankles, knees, and hips. Now allow, relax, recognize, and release. And receive healing, the healing energy moving up your spine. Allow and receive. Up your spine, all the way, into your shoulders, down your arms, and into your hands. Imagine your tingling hands sending this light, this healing light, into your torso, your lower torso, your upper torso. Allow that healing energy now to settle, healing you. Know that everything, every organ, every tissue, every muscle, every bone, everything is filled with this healing energy and happy to do its job perfectly according to our divine matrix. Feel the healing energy move into your chest. Breathe, relax, recognize, and release. And allow the healing with each breath. Allow the healing with each beat of your heart. And know the love and compassion in your heart grows. Let it grow. Beautiful love. Feel this loving light now move into your throat. Let it grow. Recognize and release. And move around your neck, relaxing. Recognize and release. Let it move over your face and over your scalp, into your third eye area, into your pineal gland, into your entire head. Feel it all around and within you. This healing energy is active within and throughout you and your entire being, and manifesting in every aspect of your affairs. Relax, recognize, and release. And allow your mind to still. Surrounded by the infinite ocean of God's love, allow the openness within you to grow. You are open. Open and allow the awareness to bring insight, to to a story you may change the telling of, a story you may transmute the energy of. I leave you here momentarily to allow the divine to communicate. Allow and listen. Relax, recognize, and release. Allow and trust your insight. Allow this knowing to grow. Allow it to form within your consciousness and bring it back with you. Bring it back. Bring it back with you now. All is well. Divine order is now manifest in every aspect of my life and being. Gratitude fills my wakeful being now. So it is. Amen.